ciao guys, welcome to the Personal PR Show. And today we're here with the one and only, our resident guest, Portia the Producer, all the way from Cleveland, Ohio. And for her, it's 6 a.m. Portia, thank you so much for waking up so early for us today.
You know, Jessica, anytime you ask, the answer is yes. Just hands down. You know, I am an early riser. I've been up actually this morning since about 3:45, and that's okay. Sometimes it happens, right? You know how the creative itis goes and you know, the energy shifting and you're just tossing and turning. I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to get up. I can schedule a nap time in the day at some point and just go with the day. So I'm truly grateful. Either way, I'm grateful for my sleepless nights. I'm grateful for these opportunities to chat with you and your audience. And I think that the topic for today is perfect because obviously I've been up and I didn't get a whole lot of sleep, but I'm just going to roll with it.
God, Portia, I'm probably going to do like a little cat nap as well in the early afternoon. So I'll think of you when I do. Oh my God. So thank you so much for, for gracing us with your presence today as well, like you do every single month. What is this month's topic going to be?
So this month, I want to talk about how we can take this overwhelming feeling, right? I think all of us, and Jessica, you can probably agree with me, we're all inundated with so many to-dos, right? As entrepreneurs, we always have to find the way to pivot, attract new clients, whether it's building our email list, whether it's trying to navigate this whole new world of AI. How do you integrate it into your everyday? And so I think we're all just overstimulated to the point that it's almost like, I call it, you know how when you add too much seasonings to your meat and it's completely ruined, even though like you cook it amazing, it's completely done, but it's too done for you to eat. Like that's what I feel like our brain is like right now. We're just too done with everything because of the floodgates of information that is thrown at us every single day. And so I want to talk about today how we can use this overwhelming feeling that we're having to be an opportunity for us to really, I guess, overcome it and also really be more self-aware, right? So I'll share with our audience about the situation that happened to me. So one of my good friends, I won't say who they are, but they connected me with a corporate client, a big corporate client, and the corporate client needed me to create a flyer for an event that they're doing. Now, here's the thing, Jessica, I'll be really honest with you. I've always been someone who steered clear from flyers because I always felt like I didn't know all the technical graphical stuff to create it. But then my soul mom's like, but Portia, you can edit videos like it's nobody's business. You can add all the transitions, overlays, you can add, lower thirds, all that stuff. But flyers, why is that a challenge for you? And in my mind, I think it's because of the whole box thing. Most of the time flyers are like a piece of paper, it's very linear, all that, versus when you create a video, you can add so many different things. But as we both know, Jessica, less is more, right? We tend to overcomplicate things because we want it to have all the bells and whistles. But if we just stick to a more simplistic format, then the message will have a bigger impact, right? So I found myself in this boat where the client wanted a custom flyer. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? Because I use Canva all the time. So I found myself, number one, overwhelmed. So when I get overwhelmed, my breath gets shortened. I'm sweating all the time. I'm frustrated. I'm crying. I'm throwing things. I'm like a little kid throwing a tantrum, right? Because I'm not understanding why the image in my brain is not coming out the way that it needs to. I can't deliver it. So what I did this past week that I did this project, so the first thing I did, I had to take a deep breath. I was like, okay, let's take a deep breath really quick, in and out, just do some deep breaths. Second thing I did was I took a walk because, I'm big on taking walks with Mr. Fletcher. He goes for 7 to 8 walks a day with Mama Bear. So I took walks with him and just to get my brain in a different state of mind, right? Just to not focus on that task, but focus on something different. Well, then when I come back, I'm working on it for another hour, another 2, and it's getting late. It's probably like 8, 9 o'clock my time. So normally I'm in bed at that hour. And I said, you know what? Let me just table it. I'm just going to table it and try it again. So the third thing I did was I slept on it. I said, let me just go to bed, not think about it, give myself the opportunity to approach it differently with a new set of eyes. And then that's what I did. The very next day, I got up again at 3:00 in the morning. I'm in my bed. I never work in my bed. Normally I work down here in my office space, but I pulled my laptop out and I said, let me just try my hand at this one more time. And I took it baby step by baby step. So I broke the flyer down into sections. I said, okay, let me do the top part first, which they wanted a custom image. So I did that. I created my own frame. Because, Canva has a bunch of different frames that you can use. You can use a heart frame. You can use a polygon frame. You can use a hexagon frame. Well, this particular flyer didn't have a set, quote unquote, frame that was in Canva. So I had to build it myself. So I took the time to build the frame. Then I took the time to iron out where I wanted the verbiage of the flyer to go. And then it just started coming together piece by piece. And then I sent it to the client, the first draft of it. And I didn't expect them to email me like that morning because I had finished it. I started at 3 and I finished it by like 6:30 in the morning. So around like this time. And I get an email response back from them like 10 minutes later. We love it. Thank you so much. And I'm like, oh my God. So look at how this feeling of overwhelm pushed me, number one, out of my comfort zone. Number two, it helped me to really build on my self-awareness, right? Noticing that when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I start sweating like a whore in church. Number two, like I'm ready to just like have a complete meltdown, and a few times I have, right? Number three, I recognize, let me rest, right? The importance of taking interval breaks when you're working on something or when you feel overwhelmed, and then taking a different approach to creating something, right? Because I kept trying to, this is where I say putting myself in a box, because I kept trying to do this flyer using already preset templates in Canva, but it wasn't fitting the mold. So I had to think outside the box in order to fit everything in the box. Like
literal sense, right? Okay.
So that's how you can use overwhelm to an opportunity for you. Because for me, it helped me to step out of my comfort zone and really take on a task that normally I would steer clear from. But look at how I kind of, in a sense, added a new skill to my arsenal. And now I've been creating stuff like crazy in Canva, Jessica. I mean, I've created cover arts for like future podcast things that I want to do. I've created book covers. I've just been having, like, I've been a happy little clam since I took time to do this project, right? And I'm still, okay, like not spoiler, but like the client wants me to do some additional things to the flyer. So I'm still working on it. But the fact that I said yes in the beginning and through the headache, and I'm still working with them, it was worth it. It was worth the overwhelmed feeling from the very beginning. So just to recap really quick for your audience. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, here's my 4 action steps. Number 1, breathe. Just do some deep breaths, because I think at least I notice when I get stressed, I feel like I can't breathe, like I'm breathing through a straw. Right. Number 2, do another activity. I always walk with my dog, Mr. Fletcher, go play with him, do something to take my mind off of the task at hand. That way I'm not subconsciously still fueling those emotions. So again, here comes self-awareness, right? Number 3, meditate or sleep on it. I had to table it for a day, and that's okay. Because it really helped me, because I approached it. And here's number 4, taking a different approach. Instead of thinking of putting yourself in a box, think outside the box in order to fit everything in the box, in a sense. And that's how we can really use overwhelm to our advantage and as an opportunity. So don't put yourself in an obstacle with overwhelm. Find the opportunity within it, whether it's for your personal growth, whether it's adding a new skill to your arsenal. Because I think overwhelm, in a sense, is kind of, I guess you can say, like a red light, green light check system, right? I think it's like a thermostat. When we're feeling overwhelmed, we have to ask ourselves the questions of, am I prioritizing me? Am I taking care of me? Am I taking care of Portia? Has Portia had a nap today? Has Portia had spent time in the sun? Has Portia spent time with friends? Has Portia done a fun activity? So I think this feeling of overwhelm can really be used to our advantage if we're open to it. Okay, guys, I'm Portia the producer. Thank you so much.
So good, as usual, so good. Portia just comes and delivers every single time with no how do you say, no exception. I mean, the level of professionalism of Portia is just incredible. And guys, I always say to you, but in case you don't know yet, Portia used to be a producer also in TV. Not only now she mostly does podcasting and radio, but she used to work in TV as well, like a big TV channel that you will certainly know if we mentioned it, right? If we named it. But we're not going to name it unless Portia wants. But Portia, something that really fascinated me was a transition between from point number 3 to step number 4, right? And I wanted to ask you, so in order for us to think outside of the box, we need, which is step number 4, we need step number 3, which is actually to get distance from the issue at hand, right? So basically we need to distance ourselves from the issue at hand in order to then think outside of the box, right? If we're still in the issue at hand, we won't be able to think outside of the box. Did I understand correctly?
100%. And I think, let me go back to between step 3 and number 4. Between number 3 being taking a rest from it, whether it's meditation or sleeping on it, and then number 4, taking a different approach. With number 4, taking a different approach, what I mean is to break it down. Break it down into simplistic, actionable steps. So for this flyer that I had to create for this corporate client, I started with the top piece of getting the image that they wanted first. Then I moved to the middle part where they wanted all the verbiage to advertise what the event is, all of that. Then I moved down to the bottom where they listed all their sponsors and things like that. So that's what I meant by taking a different approach, is breaking it down into small pieces. And I think if we take the approach of baby steps, right? Hence, it's funny because we say it all the time, like take baby steps, but we don't realize like baby steps are a big step, right? I'm gonna say it again. Baby steps are a big step when you think about it, because when you're looking at a baby learning how to walk for the first time, right? They're a little wobbly, right? And so they walk a little robotic. But I think it's the same with us when we are, as entrepreneurs, when we embark on new endeavors, when we're taking on a new challenge, we have to remember to break it down into simplistic. So like I said, number 1, I decided to start with the top first and then work down, because I knew I didn't have a preset template for this frame that they wanted. So I had to actually build the frame myself in Canva. So I did that first. Then I took a break once I did that. Then I came back and put the middle piece together with all the verbiage of what the event is, the time, the dates, the spoilers, blah, blah, blah. Took another break, then came back to it and finished the rest with all of their sponsors, whatever amenities that they were advertising and that. So I think we have to remember to break things down into simplistic when we're starting to feel overwhelmed, because I feel like we're overwhelmed because we're looking at too much. And I used to do this with my mom. God rest her soul. God rest my mom's soul. When my mom would struggle with her breathing and we would do breathing exercises, I always told her to close her eyes, because think about it, when your eyes are open, you're looking at everything. But when you close your eyes and you solely focus on your breathing, you start to slowly calm down, because you're not overstimulated by everything and everybody, all the signs, all the sights, everything. And I think if we take that same approach when we are feeling overwhelmed by breaking it down, that's why I stress the importance of breathing. If we do that, then it won't take so much of a toll on us and hinder us, because I felt paralyzed for a minute. I was like gritting my teeth, like the jaw issue and just everything. I started to feel it physically, but I had to, again, take a different approach. One baby step. One. Because when we think about it, one baby step is really a big step, because you're giving yourself the opportunity to put yourself in the arena to build something great.
And this is one of Portia's famous sound bites. You guys already know what a soundbite is because you are in this group, of course. Right? Yes. Oh my God, Portia, you always drop at least one great soundbite per episode. How do you do that? You don't prepare them in advance, right? They just come up during, the development of that topic, right?
100%. It's a divine download, Jessica. And it's funny you asked that, because even now I've been recording. So those of you, spoiler, I used to always write a full script before I would record Grew with Portia. And now I have not. I have just literally taken time. Sometimes I'll do it from my phone. I'll just pick up my phone and just start talking like, hey guys, it's Portia the producer. Just wanted to leave you a quick note. And I'll just talk. And that's what I did even this week on the episode about leveraging the feeling of overwhelm to an opportunity. I just talked about it on my podcast, Grew with Portia. So you guys can find the latest episode. It is available on all your major platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, or you can just go to my Instagram and Facebook and click my link tree. You'll find it. So
nice. Okay, let me show it to our friends on Apple Podcasts. So Grew, let's say Grew with Portia.
Yep, Grew with Portia. It's me.
Right, exactly. Let's see. Grew with Portia. It's here, guys. This is the podcast that we have to follow. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, what happened? Anyway, so you saw it. Okay, Portia. Wow. So Portia, what are we going to talk about next month? It's a secret, right? In July.
July, I'll be honest, July is going to be a very, I don't want to call it challenging, because I know that obviously I'm holding space for my mom's 1-year transition day, right? And I plan on celebrating her, right? And I think maybe I want to talk about during grief, finding those celebratory moments, right? Even when it's hard to do, because there's all the emotions, right? You feel sad, you feel angry, you wonder, you feel guilty, right? How can I really celebrate and be happy with life when I'm missing this person, right? And I really want to talk about how we can continue to, number one, hold space for our grief, and, right, you see where I said hold space for our grief and still live life, right? It's not an or thing, it's and, because life, there's duality in life. And I think through both of my parents' transition, my mother and my father, I've learned to see that, yeah, you're going to have some rotten moments in life, but you're also going to have some very rewarding ones as well.
Absolutely, yes. So we already have a topic for next month. Of course, we have time to refine it as well, but this is going to be the general direction. So guys, I think that you will be interested in this next month's episode, because we all deal with grief, right, Portia? Who hasn't had grief in their life? This is something that touches, unfortunately or fortunately, we're all in it. So so we really can't wait to hear what you have to tell us about grief and still thriving in your life, Portia. So good. Because you're totally right, because like there are most of the times that you hear somebody talk about grief, it's like, okay, first there's grief, and then when grief ends, then you thrive, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you say, no, it's not linear. There's actually duality. The two things can and should coexist. They should live at the same time, right? So you can thrive and grieve. You can grieve and thrive at the same time. This is such a good concept that not a lot of people talk about it, Portia. As usual,
gratitude, grief, and grit. Absolutely, Jessica. Gratitude, grief, and grit. Because I think in our society, and I've been reading a lot of different grief books. There's a good one that I read by C.S. Lewis, the author of Chronicles of Narnia. It's called A Grief Observed, and it's a short read, but it's powerful. And he observes how the death of his wife affected him, right? And I love how he said in the book how, when we look up in the sky is blue, right? Every time we look up in the sky, obviously during the day, it's blue, and we know it, right? And the way he uses his wife's transition, he's like, because the sky is blue everywhere, that's how you notice this person is missing. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, right? Because I still live in the same house where, my mom was. Like, my mom's room was right next to me in the living room. That's where she was, a month before she made her transition. And when I think back to that time, and even now, I can tell her presence is here in a different form, but it's obvious that her physical presence is missing. Just like when you look up in the sky, it's obvious. It's there. It's everywhere. And I think a lot of the grief books that I've read, some of them depict this. We're not holding space for grief. You just have to get over it. But really, you don't get over your grief. I'm going to say it again. You don't get over your grief. You learn to grow with it. And I want to really help people to learn how to walk to their grief instead of running away from it. Because that's what I've had to do in this last year, is walk to my grief and really unpack it and really ask myself, is this really what I think it is? Or is this an opportunity for me to really let go of things that don't truly serve me anymore, and instead encompass things that really do bring me joy, bring me happiness? So I think, in a sense, Jessica, our society has created this negative connotation around grief. But for me, grief has been the open door for me to let go of the societal narrative that I've been spoon-fed all my life about grief, and really embark on this journey of finding myself and my true calling and passion.
Absolutely. Which is something that we might reveal next month as well. Portia has a big announcement, guys. I already know, but I'm not allowed to say.
No, you can't say it yet. We can't. Nope, can't release it yet. But it's coming. I'll say the one part. I will say one of them, that a new podcast is coming. I will say that a brand new podcast that I will be hosting in congruence with Grew with Portia. And then Grew with Portia is also taking a new theme. Grew with Portia will solely focus on grief moving forward. So I'll be eventually having guests on. Right now I'm enjoying solo hosting Grew with Portia, because I don't think I've ever really solo hosted my show. So solo hosting it has been fun. It's been so much fun, because I've, a lot of people are giving me feedback like, Portia, we'd love to just hear from you. There's nothing wrong with all the guests that I've had on. I've had some amazing guests. Shout out to all my guests who I've had, all the over 200 something episodes I've recorded, even though I've only aired 184, but I've had just amazing people who have delivered so much value on my show, and I'm truly grateful. And that's kind of like how we met, Jessica, is through kind of like my show and people who are in the same network, So I'm really excited about the direction of Grew with Portia. Like, if I could say, I'll say this out loud. So one of my star, I guess you could say, bucket list guests who I would love to have on my show, to be real transparent, I would love to have a sit down conversation in person with David Kessler. And David Kessler, for those of you who don't know, he is, I guess you can call him the godfather of grief. Right? He's written several grief books after his son died. His latest book, I think it's called Finding Meaning. After it's the 6th stage of grief of finding meaning. This is where where I've been very transparent about how obviously we go through all the stages of grief: acceptance, denial, depression, anger, all those things, right? But I think where a lot of people get stuck is finding meaning in their grief. And I feel like I've reached that point quicker than most people, because I walk to my grief instead of walking away from it, because I really tried to unpack what grief meant. and really, and it was a good thing. It was rough in the beginning. God, I gotta admit, it was rough because Jessica, when we talk about depressed, I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to get out of bed. I tried to run away. Like, I can't tell you all the things that I tried to do, like after my mom made a transition. And then I can say I'm grateful that both of my parents' transitions were very close to each other, because even though as I processed still my mom's transition, it was more so like, even though the Band-Aid on my arm was the wound was kind of healing, it's like it got ripped back open again. But I'm glad it did in a short proximity where I can heal altogether fully.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, Portia, you have so much to say about grief, and you can help so many people. So I'm just going to say, I'm not allowed to say what is coming up, but I can say, I'm sure that I am allowed to say that what is coming up is going to help so many people. Right.
Yes.
So
yes, 100%.
I am Portia, guys, because as we said, grief is something that touches everybody. Unfortunately or fortunately, right? Yeah. Oh, you're going to be so relevant to so many people. So good. Thank you in advance already for what you will do for so many people. Yeah. Portia, is there anything that we absolutely need to mention before we go?
Well, first and foremost, Jessica, as always, thank you so much for these opportunities. I'm truly grateful to always connect with you and have these just deep conversations, right? Because I think we tend to get into what I call the swing of business, where we're just on the go, meeting with clients, doing this, doing that. And then it's always rich when we can sit down and have these heart-to-heart one-on-ones about things that people see are going on, people experience, but people need that reminder that they're not the only one, that you're not alone in your journey. I will say, for parting, I love leaving kind of like, I guess you could say, like parting words with people, or words, food for thought, right? I would say for our audience who is tuned in, thank you so much. But as you embark on your journey, whether it's grief, whether you're feeling overwhelmed, always remember that everything that is happening to you is happening for you, and everything happens for a reason. Remember, your story is not for you. Your story is not for you. Your story is to help other people to stop their goals, dreams, and aspirations from making the cemetery wealthier. I'm Portia, the producer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Portia. Amazing as usual. We can't wait for next month. In the meantime, lots of kisses to you. Portia, lots of kisses to you guys as well. Hugs too. Yes, and we'll see you very soon for another episode of the Personal PR Show. Bye.